What's going on, guys? It's Greg from East Coast Eyes, and welcome to another week of the Monday Update. This was a crazy week, and there's a lot of news to talk about, so let's jump right into it. First of all, getting right into the good news, the PLL is back.
Lacrosse is back like it's never been before, tournament style.
Fans are wondering what it will take for leagues to be able to play again.
So we have a solution. It's a 3-week, fully quarantined and fanless event.
So they announced they are going to have a season. Obviously, Paul went on a huge media spread and did a really great job getting some mainstream media. This should be really great for lacrosse in the long term. They are one of the first team sports to go back to playing, to figure out a model where they can play, and hopefully we'll see the NBA and the NFL follow. But I think a lot of people and a lot of sports are going to be watching to see what the PLL is doing. So basically what they're doing is they're having a quarantined, fully tested to make sure that the players are all safe, tournament style, all in one location. So they're going to play 14 seeding games, where essentially each team is going to play 4 games, and their record and score differential is going to determine their seeding for the playoffs. And they're going to have a quarterfinal where the top teams will get a first round bye, then semifinal and a championship starting on July 25th, ending on August 9th, location to be determined. And it's going to be all broadcast on the NBC Sports Networks. And this is actually happening in the original Olympic window, so the NBC Sports Networks had a lot of broadcast room where the Olympics were going to be. Now lacrosse is sliding right into that spot, so lacrosse has a huge national spotlight shed on it right now because of this really great move by the PLL and the Rabel Bros, and hopefully there'll be a lot of people sitting at home who need sports to watch, are really excited to watch sports. They'll flip lacrosse on and learn about it. I think this could potentially in the long run be huge for professional lacrosse and lacrosse in general. And the PLL also announced they're going to have their draft this week, May 13th, Wednesday at 7 p.m. NBC Sports Network. They put out what is Paul Carcaterra's draft board. They gave the seniors a little time to decide what they're going to do, and now they're going to have the draft. I'm really excited to watch it. I'll put out a mock draft coming later this week. But there's a lot of great players who decided to stay in college, but there's also a lot of great players who decided to come out. It was a really great draft class, and it'll be interesting to see where everybody shakes out. The Archers have the first pick, so they'll be on the clock first. Our last bit of good news, the PLO posted a clip of Drew Brees talking about how much he loves lacrosse.
I think lacrosse has taken the country by storm, so my boys are playing it now, and I'm telling you, it is the greatest sport. Like, if you told me your kids can only play one sport, like for the rest of their life, I'd say lacrosse.
So just piling on the huge media spread that the PLL did for their new league style, and then Drew Brees, one of the most notable athletes in the world, comes out and talks so highly about lacrosse and how his kids love it. All this is just building into a great situation for the game of lacrosse. Next up, moving to player movement, and this kind of goes right into that draft board for the PLL. The first big news that has been really going back and forth is T.D. Erlin. Originally, he declared for the PLL draft after finding out that the Ivy Leagues weren't going to extend more years to graduate students to play. And now it seems like through, I'm not going to call it a loophole, but through a certain set of circumstances where he transferred from Albany, he wasn't planning on graduating from Yale as it is because he didn't have enough credits because of his transfer. So Yale is still going to count him as an undergrad student because obviously he hasn't graduated with a degree, and he will be granted another year of eligibility at Yale. He announced this very simply by saying, "Run it back," on his Instagram. Personally, I can't be more pumped to see him back as a Bulldog. Pro will always be there for him when he's ready, but these guys, they want to try and win that national championship. The other big news out of Notre Dame is Brian Costabile. We just did his replica pocket in the Wednesday Basement Series. He has officially declared for the PLL. One of the most lethal middies in the game is going to join Michael Krause as the top midfielders in the draft. So Costabile, he will be available in the draft, and I would say he's probably the top midfield pick. And finally, in transfer portal news, Jackson Morrill out of Yale, who had entered the transfer portal, has reportedly decided to go to Denver to team up with Ethan Walker out there. That's going to be a pretty deadly combination with those two on offense, so we'll see how that develops. All right, now we have the MLL draft results. So they ran their draft last week, and there was some interesting stuff that went on for sure. So quickly running you through the first round, you've got T.D. Erlin goes to the Lizards. You've got Michael Krause goes to the Hammerheads. Got Colin Burke out of Utah, goes to the Lizards. And then you've got Nick Mellon from Syracuse, goes to the Cannons. Tom Rigney from Army goes to the Outlaws. And finally, Will Wetzel from Yale goes to the Bayhawks. So there was some talk about, T.D. Erlin now is not going to go pro, and also there's some guys who have clearly declared that they're not going to go pro that were drafted in later rounds. For example, Michael Sowers, Jeff Teat, we don't know where he's going to go yet. And I think there are some stipulations that allow the team to maintain rights for a year if the player does not leave college. For example, Pat Spencer was drafted by the PLL last year, didn't come and play pro lacrosse, but the Archers retained the rights. So I'm not sure of all the rules about that, but I think maybe they were just tossing it out there in some lower rounds with the hopes that there's a chance that they get them when they do decide to graduate. So we'll keep tabs on that as it develops. And now into some content for you guys to watch. Number one, Northwestern put out Pat Spencer's basketball highlights for the year, and they're really great.
Louis, the alley-oop, Louis to Spencer, what a finish.
Obviously, you guys have been asking a lot about Pat Spencer, where he's been and what he's doing. Playing basketball really, really well. So I would go watch his highlights. It's really great to see such a high-level athlete compete so well in the lacrosse field, but also be so diverse that he can compete D1 in an entirely another sport. And then we've got my favorite 3 lacrosse YouTubers right now, Mitch Opelke, Stelios Krudos, and Jesse James West. They all put out videos in the last week. You've got shooting videos from all 3 of them. You got Jesse putting out workout videos. These 3 guys are a must subscribe. They're putting out a lot of content while they're home and getting ready for their next college season. So it's a lot of fun to watch these guys, see how they're training, see what they're doing, interact with them while they're still in their college careers. And then if you haven't seen it yet, we also put out an accessory review, our first one in a long time. It was a really fun one. Wore the Snap Tap glasses and also a couple of recovery and workout things. So the links for all those videos will be down in the description if you guys want to go watch them. All right, now into a quick Q&A. Leave your questions for next week down in the comments or DM to me at ECDGreg on Instagram. I'll make sure to answer them for you guys. This question comes from Cray Brown. He said, "How are you doing with this, Greg?" I'm doing pretty well. I've gotten to spend a lot of time at home with my family, which is really nice. Just had Mother's Day with my wife and my son. And so this is some time that I wouldn't get to spend with my son. He's almost 2 now, loves lacrosse, wouldn't get to spend with him otherwise. And so I'm really enjoying it. We have a comment here from Rucker Colt the 4th. And he said, "Oof, y'all left my PLL draft registration out again. Damn." Well, hopefully, I think he's a goalie from Mount St. Mary's, so we'll see you on Wednesday if you get drafted. Brendan Joseph said, "Please do a Mac O'Keefe pocket after Costabiles. Wednesday, you got the draft, but you've also got a basement tutorial series. I will be doing Mac O'Keefe's pocket, so stay tuned and dial into that." And finally, a question from Instagram. Braden said, "What team do I think Grant Ament will go to?" I'm going to do a full mock draft for you guys, but I have to say with T.D. Erlin off the board, Grant Ament's got to be the #1 pick unless the Archers really feel like they need a strong midfielder. They obviously have a really great attack already with Will Manny and Marcus Holman and that 1-2 combo, but those 2 guys are great shooters. They could use a great dodger and feeder like Grant Ament who could create for them. I would say it would be a mistake to pass up on Ament in the first round. All right, guys, that wraps up this episode. Make sure to stay tuned every Monday for a new update video. DM me at ECDGreg on Instagram. Leave your comments down below for next week and let me know about any good news you have that I should share with the lacrosse community. Come back on Wednesday for the draft on NBC Sports Network and also a basement tutorial. Thanks for watching. Let's if you liked it, subscribe if you haven't, and have a great day.